1 Corinthians chapter 9. Today we're gonna focus again on the thought of determine. Okay, it's a new year. A lot of times people make New Year's resolutions. They make New Year's resolutions, and if you recall, at the beginning of the school year, we talked about determination. What are you determining to be? We made some fancy T-shirts. Some of people's T-shirts look better than others, and so forth. But I want to kind of renew that, talk about it a little bit more today. But anyway, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. All right, we're going to read verse 24 to 27. So we're going to go over a couple of verses here that I think kind of go along greatly with not just determination, but what is required of a believer in order to do that which they're determining to do for Christ. All right, there's certain things. And it's very, it works very well with someone with shin splints today and stuff. Because a lot of the illustrations the Bible uses is with running and so forth. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, beginning in verse 24, the Bible says, "Know ye not that they which run a race run all, but one receiveth the prize, so run that ye may obtain." All right, if you're going to do something, all right, do it with all your heart. Heartily as unto the Lord, giving God the glory. So, these things that you're determining to do, like you're committing, like I'm going to do this for the Lord, that you don't just say it and do it half-heartedly. You don't just say it and you don't really commit to it, all right? Remember, that's like not keeping a vow that you give to God. Remember, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. If you're going to run a race, run to obtain the prize. Like, give it your all right? I don't know if any of you guys are like this, but Pastor Tim, he's the kind of guy, like, it kind of irks him when he sees people doing something you can obviously tell they don't care. It's like, all right, everyone's going to do this, and it's just like, I'm going to kick the ball. Or playing dodgeball or something like that. It's like, I'm just going to stand here, hit me. And you guys might have noticed Pastor Tim might have been like, all right, they're still in. They got to stay in the game and stuff like that. But anyway, if you're going to do something, you want to do it with all your heart. All right? If you're going to run the race for Christ, whatever you're deciding to do, you want to run with all your might. Okay? It's one thing when it's a silly dodgeball game. All right, I can forgive that. It's like, yeah, it's just not like we're winning a giant prize or a Super Bowl. You're winning maybe candy or bragging rights. But when you're doing something for Christ, that's something you should do with all your heart, right? Because who are you doing it for? God. Verse 25. So run that you may obtain, and every man that striveth for the mastery, so they're giving their all, is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible crown. So kind of the same picture with the whole dodgeball game illustration. All right, okay, it doesn't really matter if you win that game. All right, some of you guys are more competitive than other people when we do little games in here, but it doesn't really matter who wins the hangman game or the dot game, or because it's a silly thing. It doesn't matter. Like if you ever helped me in children's church, you know this well. Like when I do little games with the kids in children's church, you get some that it's like life or death if they win the review game or not. And then if they lose, they're crying. It's like, it's okay. It's just a silly game. It's the same thing with a lot of things that people want to achieve in their life here on earth. A lot of times people get caught up wanting to only strive for what is essentially going to be a corruptible crown. I want to have this great, fruitful career. That's not wrong. All right, I want to make loads of money. Not necessarily wrong, but if you're like, that's all you really care about, you're getting to that whole love of money territory. But understand, all those things are a quote-unquote corruptible crown. All right? The things we do for Christ, the things we want to achieve for Christ, those are an incorruptible, as we see here. But earlier in that verse, he says, the man that's striving to do these things for Christ, all right, that wants to do this for the incorruptible crown, is temperate in all things. What does it mean to be temperate in things?
Balanced.
That's good.
Not overindulging.
Not overindulging in certain things. So, when it comes to somebody that wants to run, all right, I want to be a marathoner. Colin, you may be familiar with this a little bit because I know your dad does a lot of these big runs and stuff. What are certain things they need to find balance in or not indulge in? Ethan? Junk food. It's like, yeah, I'm going to run, this ultra marathon, but man, I love me some junk food. That's not going to help them run the race all the time. Like, you can have one, and that's where temper comes in. You have to put it under control, have a balance. You can have it ever so often, when I say ever so often, like maybe once a week or even more distance than that, but if you're eating it every other day, it's not gonna benefit you in running a race. All right, what's another thing you need to be temperate in when you're running a actual race? Locke.
Just how fast you're running.
How fast you're running, all right?
You can't just like.
Alana, when you first start running, do you want to book it all out? Like, all right, I'm going to determine to run 5 miles today, and I'm going to sprint it. Is that a wise decision? No, because you have to build yourself up to even run 5 miles, all right? Most people, if they haven't been running, period, they can't just get out and run 5 miles right off the bat. They have to build up their endurance to that point. And not only that, when you build up your endurance to that point, you're not running like, full out speed, sprint. You're jogging first, maybe you pick up your pace. And as time goes on, as you're being temperate and being routinely committed to performing that task, you're going to get better at it. All right, Alana, are you a better runner, besides the shin splints, are you a better runner today than when you first started running? Definitely. You build it up. All right, it's the same thing with the Christian walk. So spiritually speaking, when you're making a determination, like I'm going to be this for God, whether it's a characteristic thing, whether it's a goal you want to achieve, like reading your this many books of the Bible or reading your whole Bible, whatever that is, all right, there are certain things you need to be temperate in as well to accomplish those goals for Christ. All right, so what are things that you need to balance in your life if you want to achieve a spiritual goal for Christ? Anybody? What are some things that aren't bad but can hinder you if you're not careful? You need to find balance in. Grace?
A job.
A job, okay? How much time are you giving to your job? Are you working too much overtime? Are you doing too much of this or that? Greg?
The social media platforms.
Greatly, all right? Like, oh, I'm going to read my Bible on my phone. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I got a notification. All right, so-and-so's going live. I got to see that, whatever. Yeah, how much time you're being distracted by social media, video games, if you guys are going to mention that or anything like that. Your hobbies and the things you enjoy doing, even reading and stuff like that, nerds. Those things, they're not bad, but if you're not careful, if you're not temperate in it, they can easily take away from time you could be spending with God or time you're trying to spend on a certain goal. When it comes to like characteristic things, like some of you guys wrote before, like I want to determine to be more caring or to be more this or that. All right, you need to be careful what you allow in your life that does not help you grow in that characteristic. All right, I want to be a more merciful person, meaning like, I want to be kind, and even if someone offends me, I want to be gracious and merciful to them. I struggle with that. Well, then it's not probably a good idea for you to hang around people who are always cold or bitter or who are very easy to be like, that person's so stupid, like I'm never going to spend, that's not a good influence on you, right? Yeah, that's something you shouldn't allow into your life. Let's continue on because we got a couple more passages here. Verse 26 says, I therefore so run, not so as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Pretty much saying like, all right, I'm being temperate in all these things because I know the goal I have before me. All right, therefore, in order to accomplish that goal, I'm doing all these things, but also so that I have a true testimony. All right, when I preach, I won't be a castaway. So people don't say like, oh, so-and-so, all right. You could probably look at Alana, and if she says like, oh yeah, I'm a runner, you could probably be like, all right, she looks like a runner, she looks like she's in shape and stuff, and she does that. If Pastor Tim was to come up to you and be like, oh yeah, I'm a runner, you're going to be like, all right. It's the same thing in your spiritual life. You say, oh yeah, I determined to be this type of person or to accomplish this. All right, but if you're not doing the steps in order to accomplish that, if you're not practicing temperance and stuff in your life, it's very easy for you to become a hypocrite, and people can notice that. Like, oh man, I want to be a much more caring person, all right, but if all people see from you is, you're kind of a mean, hard, cold person, you're quick to cut somebody down, you're a hypocrite. You're not practicing what you said you're trying to be, you're determining to be.